And therefore, there is, in that part of the world, a very strong tendency for recognizing these problems and these possible solutions. It is also recognized that this type of solution is not possible without the participation of the United States. And that's what I'm up to. And I've been dealing with Russian circles and talking with Chinese circles and so forth, and Indian circles for some time, off and on, and recently more seriously. And we're now at that point. We have now, were I president, there would be no problem with this problem. The United States, Russia, China, and India, and other countries in the region will and can cooperate if allowed to do so. It's in their interest to do so. All we have to do is have the right influence in the United States, and we can pull it off. We can save ourselves in this mess. If we don't, if we start to say, well, maybe Obama will work out, kiss your something goodbye. If you think that these policies can be tolerated, kiss it goodbye. If you can think you can adopt Hitler's health care policy through Obama and survive, die. It'll be more merciful than the alternative. And therefore, we have to recognize that we have to mobilize the people of the United States around the idea of bringing this presidency under control, and bringing it under control through a partnership with the United States, Russia, China, India, and other relevant countries. If we do that, I can properly guarantee that Germany and France will tend to join. They have the strength to be able to join under those conditions. They will kick the British out then. They won't like it, but they'll do it. So therefore, we can save the planet. But it's up to us in the United States to deal with this Obama problem, to recognize the Hitler mustache on his upper lip. And if you can't recognize the mustache, the Hitler mustache on Obama's upper lip, you're not a patriot. You may call yourself a Democrat, but Democrats are getting scarce as hen's teeth these days. Even people who are running as Democrats are calling themselves independents and running on both the Republican ticket and the Democratic ticket as independents. It's getting hard to find a Democrat anywhere. Except, maybe Mrs. Pelosi will grow a mustache or something to cover up her defects. But this is the situation. So we in the United States, and look at the other situation, what I've seen. Do you know 80% of the American people hate this president? They don't particularly hate him as such. He's not really a hate object. He's more or less of a lump. But what they hate is the people that they believe betrayed them. Because the American people don't think of Obama as one of theirs. You had African Americans used to try to think of Obama as one of theirs. It was a hopeful thing, but it wasn't there. They began to find out what was really there, and that's not working. But Americans do not really hate Obama. They despise him. That's the difference. They don't think that shooting him is what has to be done. Americans think that their representatives in the Congress who they voted for have betrayed them. You saw that in August, in the turnout. It was really a mass strike movement. You've seen it again, popping up again and again. The American people consider that the members of Congress are the people who betrayed them. They think that the leadership of the parties has also betrayed them, but they're picking out especially the members of Congress who are considered traitors to them. And therefore, they're perfectly willing to call themselves Democrats, but they don't want to be called Democrats, these types that they have contempt for. And therefore, our problem is to organize the American people to realize what they already feel. 80% of the American population hates what's happening to the United States. That's a fact. I don't care what other statistics people get. I know these facts. 80% of the American population hates their representation. The Republicans are smarter. They're pretending to be almost Democrats to try to pick up the votes, hoping that they can take the seats by appealing to the former Democratic voters to come over to the Republican Party in the next election. That's the game they're playing. They know the health care policies of Obama is hated because it's Hitler-like style genocide. They know that, and they know people don't like that. They don't like to be killed. They don't like to see their grandmother snuffed or their kids snuffed. They don't like it. It's strange, you know. They know what this health care problem is: mass murder. It's only stupid politicians who refuse to recognize that it's mass murder. It is mass murder. It's Hitler-style mass murder. Of course, I tell you a secret. The British invented it. They invented Hitler. And then, so why are you, American people, out there putting up with something that the average citizen, 80% of the citizens, really hate? And they don't hate Obama. They hate the Democrats who vote for Obama's policy. Because their attitude is, and they're right, okay, Obama's an idiot. More and more people are going to recognize that as time passes on. But they don't hate him because they say this could not happen if the Democrats in the Congress had not sold out. And it's those Democrats that they voted in 2 years ago, a year ago or so. Those Democrats, the ones who they feel betrayed them, who they hate. Obama to them is just a fool. Anybody who thinks seriously and hears him talk and see what he does and so forth, the man is a damn fool. He's an empty head with these three teleprompters to help guide him in talking. If you got a fourth teleprompter in there, you probably would really screw him up. you know, just one with a Mickey Mouse something or other, and he'd squeak in the meantime. But so the problem is the American people don't recognize that a people have to survive by showing leadership when a people, as a people, must show leadership. Not as anarchy. The problem is we saw with the demonstrations publicly in the month of August, and we've seen since, the average American person was saying in August, visibly, and has said more recently, you, they said, to the members of the Congress coming out in front of the constituents. They said, you, shut up. We want to tell you what's wrong with you. We want you to listen. We don't want you to talk now. We don't want you to explain now. We want you to listen. They're assuming that the politician, they still control him. They elected him, or they thought they had elected him. They thought he was their representative. They said he's just another Pelosi. And they're angry because they think their friends betrayed them. They don't consider Obama their friend. They don't think Obama betrayed them. Yes, African Americans, many think he was betrayed, but that didn't last too long. They began to realize what the truth was. But what the American is upset about is the members of Congress who betrayed them. And look at the recent vote, the two recent vote on the health care. First of all, Obama's intention is Hitler's. If you vote for Obama's health care policy, you're voting for Adolf Hitler's 1939 policy. It's exactly what you're voting for. If you support a candidate or a person in public office who's supporting Obama's policy, you are supporting a Hitler policy. Now, Hitler didn't invent it, the British did. But Hitler was a British puppet, created as a British puppet who went awry as far as they were concerned, and they had to get rid of him. But it was Hitler's policy, which are the policies of the royal families, World Wildlife Fund, Prince Philip. Prince Philip has a genocide policy. You don't need Hitler. Prince Philip is much more vicious than Hitler was. His whole family is. Al Gore is practically a Hitler man. on the same kind of policy. He's a liar and a fool, and a complete agent of the British interest. So the American people react, as you know them and I know them. They react to a sense of being betrayed by their friends. That's where their greatest anger is. You know, most killings occur in families for that reason. The hatred is the greatest against the person you're close to who has betrayed you. You know, the child against the mother who they think has betrayed them, or the father, or the cousin, or the sibling in their class, or the teacher, or some local official, the person who hired them and fired them. These are the people who stir up the greatest emotion in the typical American, these kinds of cases. And that's what the people are saying. They're saying, we don't. And now the congressmen, who are frightened, cowards, are running to Obama for succor. Against whom? Against the people who voted for them. And therefore, you Americans got to wake up. You've got to understand how you think and what you think. And recognize you've got to get this man who you elected president. You've got to bring him under control. We don't want any shooting around here. We want him brought under control. And some people in Washington know what I mean by that. He'll be in the White House. He'll be there. He'll sign the bills. We will take care of his teleprompters for him. You won't have to worry about what goes on those. We'll take care of that for him. It may not come out too clearly, but it will be there. And the American people will say, we have a president again. Why? He's ours. What do you mean he's yours? We control him. And that's the way the job has to be done. And the way you control him is by bringing under control those who need to be brought under control. First of all, your own elected representatives, who are supposed to be your bosses, them. You've got to get the institutions to function under control. You've got to have an assessment, a practical assessment of what has to be done on this planet to stop what is now a presently onrushing, inevitable, general breakdown crisis of the entire planet. We can stop it. We made an important step in that direction right after my trip to Rhodes. It was done by the Russians and the Chinese. And contrary to some doubts on the Russian side, the Chinese did do what I knew they would do. They made an agreement of historic importance. There is discussion with India and with other countries in that region on the same thing. We need to bring the United States into line on this policy. Put this president in the White House under parental supervision. Maybe his grandmother, if she's not available anymore. Bring him under parental supervision. He'll sit there, he'll sign the laws, he will authorize the speeches, he will do all these things, he will be informed on everything. But he will be in the White House and under management. And we will kick the butts of the members of the Congress. And we will go to cut the deal with Russia, China, and India. We will bring other countries into that. Japan will come quickly. So will Korea. So will some other countries come quickly into that. And we have to save this economy. We have to put this entire economy through a Glass-Steagall type of reform immediately. We must take all banks which have any characteristic of commercial banks in them, put all these banks under government receivership in bankruptcy, put them into bankruptcy reorganization by a Glass-Steagall standard, the one that used to be on the books that we know we have to return to. Keep the commercial banks functional. Those which are in bankruptcy presently, put them back into operation because people had their savings there, and we have to defend that. Then by canceling all this worthless paper, maybe $20 trillion worth of worthless paper, cancel it. It's fake money. It's not honest money by Glass-Steagall standards. Then create, by a federal act, create something which Roosevelt would have done. Create a reorganization of the U.S. economy. Now, we've destroyed most of our industries. We have almost lost the skills that were concentrated in the auto industry for machine tool design and similar kinds of skills. We've lost the ability for major infrastructure. We're about to lose the last remnant of the aircraft industry. We're losing our machine tool capability. We do not have functioning industries of the type we used to have 10 years ago. We've lost it. We have communities that are disintegrating. What we're going to have to do is have a mass program of basic economic infrastructure of the type that requires a maximum emphasis on agriculture and machine tool design in order to make sure to get the highest levels of technology functioning again immediately in this country. We've got to get to a full employment program, which is not a make-work employment program, but a one of infrastructure which is actually building the skills and productive powers of the nation. We're going to have to cooperate among nations to enhance this capability. We're going to have a 1.5% to 2% basic interest rate for these kinds of projects, which will be authorized by the federal government. We're going to talk in terms of 50-year and less shorter types of investments by the federal government. We're going to build a mass transit system. We're going to build a nuclear power system beyond anybody's imagination today. We can do it. All you have to do is start doing it, and you can replicate the project and train more people in it. And that way we're going to save the nation. We're going to save the planet. We will find that Europe, probably beginning in Europe, in Germany and France, which are nations which have the greatest relative potential for getting back into business, except for the greedies in Germany. We're going to have to start to do that. We're going to have to continue and expand the general problem for Africa, the general program of development for Africa. We're going to have to look at the countries of South America from the same standpoint. And within 10 years or less, we will have rebuilt for the United States a semblance of what we once thought we had in modern terms. That's what we must do. And you in the United States must do it. You must organize those in the United States to do exactly this. Because I can tell you that Russia is prepared to do this. China is prepared to do this. There are 1.4 billion Chinese. That's important. There are over 1 billion Indians. They're important. Russia commands one of the greatest raw materials potentials of the planet in the Arctic region. We have in North America, we have in Canada, in Alaska, we have a similar potential for development in the Arctic regions and subarctic regions. We can make a revolution on this planet rapidly, within 10 years, easily. We can change things to get us moving in a completely different direction. But the problem lies not with who we criticize outside in other nations, though criticism must be made. We have to look at ourselves. We are the supposedly great power. We are the nation which inspired modern society. We have to kick our people in the butt and get them to organize themselves for no less a purpose than their own survival. Because if we don't organize our own people to clean up this mess in the Congress and in the White House and put it back in order, there isn't going to be a United States. If there's not going to be the United States, there's not going to be much of a world either, at least for a long time to come. So this stuff we've been doing and putting up with, this debating, this question of popular opinion, this question, well, I don't think, well, I'm not sure, but somebody tells me what somebody says differently than you're saying, idiocy, cowardice, corruption. When people don't think things through in a time of crisis because they want to doubt or they want to protest or they want to raise some projection of that type, you kind of people who are condemn themselves to hell. And if they're looking for it, they probably will find it. So the point is, it lies with us. The crisis is now. The time is short. The weeks ahead cannot be wasted. I will be working during these coming months, several months, to try to put into place some of the agreements which are needed to get this world out of this mess. But I need some more showing from the American people of all particular degrees. Let's get up off the ground. Let's mobilize, and let's take charge. The mass strike movement, which we saw in August, is good, but it was not good enough. Because then the people who were enraged were saying justly, you, to their members of Congress. You shut up, listen to us. They didn't say, we're taking charge. And that's the difference. Thank you.